Is he bleeding from the nose because it was too good? Because she said it wasn't poison, so either she's wrong or the food is to die for? Like, I don't... Hey everybody, welcome back to the Stoneface Reactions. I'm Theta, and we're back with another episode of the Apothecary Diaries. We are nearing the halfway point of Season 2. I believe there's going to be 24 episodes this season. So, we're on episode 11. So, one more, and we'll be halfway through, and I believe after that, maybe get a new opening. Because as I've covered before, I feel like we've covered all of the hints that would be in the opening for this half of the season. So, I'm interested to see the new opening. For one, whatever the new graphic is. Two, whatever the new music is. And three, the breakdown that I'm going to have to do about it to see if I can figure out any clues given to what I think the conspiracies are and the questions that need to be answered before the season's over. Because I don't know what the story is in total. So I don't know if this season is going to be the end of the show or if we are going to hold out hope for a third season, right? So, that said, I come back with a board and notes. So let's go ahead and hop onto the board and see what we get. See what we get. That's what I say when I'm introducing the show. I know what we're going to get. I have a whole board change log. I don't think about things when I say them sometimes. Said everybody. Alright, the board change log. I've added Haku, Koku, and Seki. And then I added the old court lady, and I connected her to the former emperor, and then to the daughter of the former emperor. I really haven't updated the family connection bit of the board in a while. I really should get on that. I think at the moment I haven't done it only specifically because back when I first made it, I was trying to remind myself of all the connections and the possibilities of what may exist, and since then, a number of those possibilities have been made true. My theories have been proven correct, so there hasn't been a need. At this point, though, I think considering that we have new information when it comes to the former emperor's family line and what might possibly be going on there, might be worthwhile to do it again. Alright, well, again, that's the board, and as always, there will be a link down below for a better version of the board to look at other than what's on screen right here. I realize I just pointed at the same place twice. Whatever. To the notes. As always, the show introduces a concept for us to wrap our heads around before hitting us with a plot point revolving around it. In this case, we have three sisters that look identical that Maomao can't tell apart. I don't know what the future thing will be that this is setting up for, but I already have two hanging threads that involve this idea. The first would be Surei and how she dressed up like a man to blend into a crowd of men that looked exactly the same, as seen when they were in the tavern where Kunen was killed, or the escape from the morgue. The other would be my Prince and the Pauper scenario that I've been proposing for Lulan and Shisui. Same hair, same eye color, never in the same scene, and Shisui is often absent from Xiaolin's perspective. So I'm expecting that to come up in the next, 5-ish episodes, now that these three have been introduced. I mean, it's either that or a completely new thing involving my distrust of Gyokyo, but I may have dead-ended myself on that suspicion. Just a note from later in the episode, though, even Maomao is suspecting Shusui of being like a different person. The same thing that's been said about how the Emperor was confused by Lulan every visit. That's a tie that binds right there. It's hard to tell in some shots, which is probably on purpose, but the three sisters do have different eye colors. Green, purple, and blue. I could only tell in the zoomed-in shots, but going back to their intro, I can see it better now that I noticed it all. Haku is blue, Koku is purple, and Seki is green. This feels like a nothing note once you realize that I've made the board. And the board, I don't know what I'm pointing at when I do this. Literally pointing at my screen, but you guys don't know. Anyway. When you're looking at the board is zoomed in on their faces, so obviously you know which one is which, because you can see the eye colors. So, this note was written before I added them to the board, when I was trying to figure out in the episode. Because literally, I paused on one scene where you could see all three of them, and I'm like, I can't. There's nothing that makes them different. They're all completely the same. And then there was a closer shot, like 5 seconds later, where it's like, those are different eye colors. They also make a reference when Maomao first mistakes them, gets their names wrong. They said, well, we'll wear colored ribbons apropos of our name, the colors that our names mention. And then I looked up, like, Haku, and the only color example I got for Haku is white, because Haku from Spirited Away was white, or something like that. And it's like, I don't know what this means. I was considering the old court lady while taking her picture for the board, and went back to my notes from the episode prior. A doctor was declared the father and was exiled with the baby. I went over the idea that Lu Men could have been the doctor and making Maomao a child of the emperor, plus the whole test we did, the former emperor, plus a whole test that we did that was used to prove the lineage of the maternal bloodline. But obviously that doesn't work for the whole Lacan Feng Xing storyline. Though I would be remiss not to point out the whole switching babies storyline that already exists as well. So who knows? Maomao could be that kid switched at birth and have just as confusing who are they story as Jinshi himself. The other consideration would be who else is the daughter of a doctor. We know Su-rei was adopted by a doctor, and that would certainly give her motive to target the Emperor's family. So the bad air conceit used this episode actually harkens all the way back to episode 2, when the soldiers were accusing the townsfolk of poisoning them, and Maomao brought up the fact that the soldiers could be burning local poisonous plants. That is something mentioned 31 episodes ago, paid off here. I will say this was a bad setup for killing 11 random people. The ghost stories would keep you awake and more alert, as opposed to putting you to sleep to die of bad air. Also, what if you fell unconscious before it was your turn to tell a story? It would alert everyone else something was wrong. Also, what if you got so scared by a story that you ran for it? You'd open a door or a window and instantly ruin hours of bad air accumulation. This was just a bad plan. And my final note. I hope the final reveal was someone passing on information, i.e. the former Emperor's shit, and not an actual supernatural occurrence. This show has been a bunch of mysteries so far, but mysteries that have been grounded in at least believability. To suddenly start tossing ghosts and whatnot in would be to make it a completely different show. I would rather believe that Su-rei dressed up as an old woman and tried to kill/tell Maomao some secrets and have to figure that out, than to believe that a person who died a year ago came back as a ghost to kill people. That was my biggest problem with last episode. I do not want this show to become supernatural, especially when we did this whole song and dance of dressing up Jinshi as, like, the moon spirit. Sorry, I forgot the name of it. To show that such things don't exist and we have to make them. Anyway, as I said, that was my last note, so nothing left to do here but to hop on in and see what we get this episode.
But before we get started,
make sure that you hit the like button,
hit that subscribe button,
comment down below to feed that algorithm.
On top of all that, if you want to watch more shows like this, unfiltered,
uncensored,
and uncut,
as well as some early access stuff,
you can check it out over on the Patreon.
It's just $5 a month, but hey, no pressure.
There's zero pressure in order to do that. It's just a little bit of extra support, and it would be greatly appreciated.
You know, as I've always said, the thing herein is that I wasn't a big fan of this opening to start with, and I don't know if it's an element of if I said anything about the music specifically. I know I usually harp on about how the opening wasn't as interesting to me as some of the other openings, but I don't know if I was a super fan of the music back when this season started. But now I'm like, I love it. It's just the element that it has to spend all this time working on me, and what tends to happen with most shows that we watch here is that by the time that I really appreciate the song, we're at the end. Like, you get one more episode, and then it's like new song or new show, and it's like, ah, damn it. So, I don't know. And as I said, there has to be a new opening coming in at least 2 episodes, because we've covered essentially all of this. Like, obviously, there's still questions related around them, but the scenes of which they have import have come and pass. Except for maybe that yellow flower, but I think we've also covered a grouping of yellow flowers in an earlier episode, so that might be the thing, unless the passing of the yellow flower means something. But then again, you know what? We're in this episode. The hunt could have something to do with the yellow flower.
この際血を薄めるのであれば、いっそこのようなものを取り込んでみては。
お気に入りは隠しておかないと誰かに隠されてしまうわよ。
Well, I mean, if I am right, and Maomao actually is part of the bloodline, you would be thickening it. Of course, if I'm also right, then Suri is part of the bloodline, then she's gonna be thinning it by killing you. I mean, it would be great if you did, so that I could stop freaking wondering all the time. Like, I have my belief of what Jinshi's position is. The fact that Jinshi's own mental thoughts about who he is differ.
どのようなご用件でしょう。
このものを数日返していただきたいと思いまして。
返して？
そういえば翡翠宮に戻ってきたのは玉葉様の出産が終わるまでの特別処置だったっけ。
まあ困るわ。その間毒味はどうするの？
うちの次女を貸しましょう。
信頼できる方かしら。
Suren?
数日というとどこかへ出かけるのかしら。
断れぬ筋から狩りに誘われまして。
断れぬ筋？
師匠様のお誘いです。
大変ね、お付き合いも。それで
Mulan
う
said?
ちのマオマを
Right?
借りたいというのね。
ええ、返していただければと。
The one who's expanded the rear palace all this time?
うちには他にもいい子がいるわよ。
いえ、その娘を返していただけたらそれでいいので。
どの子のことかしら。
ですからその娘を
さっきからその娘としか言わないのね。
それが何か？
See, Gyokyo has to know Jinshi's position as well.
あなたはマオマオのことをなんて呼んでるの？
私はシャオマオと。
じゃあ、あなたはマオマオのことをなんて呼んでるの？
ああ、そういや一度も名前を呼ばれたことないな。別に。
Something I've never noticed
な
before.
んでジンシ様はそわそわしてるんだ？玉葉様の許可が下りたのは30分後のことだった。
I guess technically if you're in the running to become the next empress, you might have more authority than the emperor's brother or son or whatever the fuck Jinshi turns out to actually be.
草の下に3つの刀。草は花。帝の先祖である王母を指し、その下の3つの刀は王母を助けた3人の武人を示す。3つの刀のうち 下2つに比べて大きい刀は北の大地四北州を指す。四北州一帯はコーリャンや麦を栽培していて、さらに北に行くと
Sorghum.
山岳地帯が広がりって聞いてるのか。
すみません、馬仙様。
Okay, it was Basan from the next time on.
確か北の
四北州だ。jinshi様を狩りに誘った師匠殿の一族が治めている土地だ。
Okay, that is Luan's
自
dad.
分のお膝元に狩りと称して呼びつけたわけか。さすがに皇帝は来なかったが、そうそうたる顔ぶれらしい。
なんでこんな娘を父上は。
父上ね。
I guess you could just say that out loud. You know she's not listening to you.
今回、jinshi様とは別の賓客として招かれているガオシュン様の代わりに付き人をするという。宦官といっても生まれつきないわけじゃないし、年齢からして子がいてもおかしくない。
I was just about to say, are you not going to worry or wonder why Gaoshin has a son if he's a eunuch?
おお。標高が高く涼しいこの場所を、先帝は避暑地として毎年訪れていたという。今の帝になってから皇族は訪れていないが、師匠様の一族が管理しているらしい。
And again, he has massive influence at the rear palace. The whole place is getting rebuilt because of him. Since back in the former emperor's days.
この部屋、やたら暑いな。それにしても、なんなんだあのくつろぎようは。いつもより疲れているのだろうが限度がある。あれは頭巾。美しすぎるから遠出をする際に覆面が必要なのか。
ここでは何とお呼びすれば。
室内ではいつも通りでいい。外では光線と。
かしこまりました、光線様。
はて、何か変わった思考でも？
それについては。
Are we gonna get right to it?
ん？今回、ガオシュン様も賓客として招かれているのですよね。
そうですが。
それなら、なぜ同じ胸に配置されたのだろう。本来はもう少し差がつきそうな間柄だが。
マーの一族は代々光線様の一族にお仕えする。胸が同じなのは当然だ。
そうですか。やっぱり
Is this a long-term cover?
この出なのか。
父上、どういうことでしょうか。まさかこの娘。
I mean, she doesn't know and we don't know.
いずれjinshi様が直接お伝えする。それまではこの件には触れるな。
いや、しかし、いくらなんでも。
何をやっているのだ？
This is like the Three's Company situation of Apothecary Diaries.
仕事しないと後で睡蓮様に怒られる。外は宴で賑やかだというのに、なんで締め切った部屋に閉じこもって
If
い
it's
る
supposed to
ん
be
だ？
cooler up here, why is it so
窓
warm
くら
all
い
of a
開けた
sudden?
らいかがでしょう？
いや、いい。とりあえず夕げの毒味をしてみろ。してみればわかる。
これはすっぽんですか？
Is everything gonna be poisoned?
食前酒も果汁の甘さでごまかそうとしているけど結構強い。副菜からデザートに至るまで。なんというか、精のつきそうなものばかりですね。
わかっただろう。
携帯食？食べないのですか？毒ではありませんが。
毒でなくても食うものではない。
では、
Oh, okay, I thought it was all poisoned.
私が食べてもよろしいでしょうか？
勝手にしろ。
Don't love that they left the head in there.
うまいか、それは。
美味しいですよ。すっぽん以外も美味しいと思いますけど、本当に食べなくてよろしいのですか？
食べていいのか？
ほう、 もともとジンシ様のお食事です。
本当にいいのか？
何なんだ。
俺はいい。バセン、食っていいぞ。
よろしいのですか？
ああ、むしろ食え。
Is it like just too big of a risk? Is that the case? That you can't even trust it after the poison tester?
美味です。
それはよかった。
ただ
ただ
なぜこの娘は平気なのです？
なぜと言われましても、そういう体質ですから。
失礼。
Well, now you can't test your poison tester. She said it
若い
wasn't.
とは大変である。
あ
どうしましょう。
ここで寝かせてやれ。俺は
Is he bleeding from the nose because it was too good?
疲れているだろう。
Because she said it wasn't poison, so either she's wrong or the food is to die for? Like, I don't.
シャオマオはこちらの部屋を使ってください。
はい。弱みまでできるとは贅沢だな。明日は狩りか。筒がなく終わるといいけど。
これが例の随分小型だな。最新式だ。飛距離と命中精度も上がっている。これなら森の中でも狙える。
I mean, I keep introducing Western stuff. Guess it was just a matter of time, right?
狩りは宿から30分馬に揺られ、徒歩で1時間山を登った高台で行われる。お偉方が捕まえた獲物をその場で調理するという趣向のようだ。やることがない。散策でもするか。
I mean, I'm just really waiting for Jinshi to have that conversation.
なかなかいい森だな。
Also, I'm hoping it's a conversation we think is going to happen. And it's not like some other thing.
滝でもあるのか。あれは
Lihaku?
こんにちは。あ、ジョーちゃんか。どうしたんだこんなとこで。
ちょっとご指名があったもので。
そうか。実は俺もよ、ご指名で護衛に入ったんだ
I
けど。
keep getting Basen and Lihaku just mixed up all over the time. All over the time. All the time. So I was right, it was Lihaku in the next time on, because I think this is the scene.
最近どんどん出世しているようだが、その分風当たりは強くなる。
Well, he has to save the money, right?
黙らっしゃい。いいんだ。これがあるからな。
賢いですね。
だろう。場合によっちゃ何里離れてもやってくるらしいぞ。
へえ。
So Maomao has the cat. Lihaku has the dog.
避暑地とはいえ、今日は天気もよく暑苦しい。快適に過ごすのも一苦労だな。
I'm assuming those things full of water used to be filled with ice, just like back at the place they're staying.
どんなに怪しい覆面姿でも上座に座っていればこの中で一番の乗客ということなのだろう。あれがローラン妃の父。
Okay, I was wondering where the hell he was.
四北州の長でこの狩りの主催者だ。何か言われたのか。いや、あのやたら外面のいい宦官があんなあからさまな態度を取るだろうか。もしかするとこの暑さのせいで今は何もする。
What the hell are they talking about? Because I assume Shusui knows about Jinshi and who he is. He's been around long enough.
これをいただいてもよろしいでしょうか。
ああ、いいよ。
Are we about to get the assassination plan too?
お前か。
これを外してください。
ダメだ。
周りには誰もいません。
誰か来るかもしれない。
ああ、めんどくせえ。そんなに人目が気になるなら見えないところへ行けばいいでしょう。
No, it actually was the heat. I thought it was something that was being said.
失礼します。顔を拭きますね。暑い。やはりのぼせている。早く持ってきた水を。
薬よ。お前に話したいことがある。
今ですか？
いつかは言わねばと思っていた。俺は。
Do not get interrupted.
本当は。
Damn it.
なんだ。硫黄の匂い。
フェイファか。
I don't know what a FIFA is.
バレイ、少し驚かせる。
If you're gonna take a shot, he can't dodge while he's in the air.
滝壺を探すか。この高さならどうせ助からん。
Oh, you never go. You never leave without finding a body. You need proof of death. A lot of people have been waiting a long time for this. Even if it's not exactly what they were going for.
泳げなかったならすまなかった。
あれで泳げるわけありません。50メートル近くある崖を飛び降りるとは無茶なことを。
Yeah, but you're gonna get shot if he didn't.
ここの滝壺は深いからうまく飛び降りれば溺れない限りそうそう死なない。
ええ、溺れない限り。
I appreciate that they took the they took off the freckles because that's makeup and it would have gotten washed away.
前掛けと腰布はやめとくか。貧相なあばら骨でも隠せるものは隠したい。
And that's where I assume a bunch of art suddenly came from.
自分でやる。お前のも貸せ。俺の方が力があるだろう。
ほう。よかった。さっきより体調は良さそうだ。
Well, obviously cooled off a whole hell of a lot.
薬草はもう使えないな。何か他に。ジンシ様。
なんだ？
粗末なもので申し訳ありませんが、食していただけますか？
何かの薬か？
朝毛に出された吹きです。おやつにしようと持ってきたものですが、今のジンシ様には塩が足りないようなので。
This is a hell of a
追いかけ
scene.
てくるときにジャンや砂糖を混ぜた水を持ってきたのですが、滝の上に置いてきてしまったので、とにかく覆面をつけたまま狩りに出て食事も水も取らなければ体がおかしくなります。暑さと水分不足で頭が痛かったのではありませんか？
Oh, the step in.
のぼせは引いているみたいですが、念のために塩を取ってください。
そういうことなら。思ったより悪くないな。お前も食え。
いただきます。
Of course, wouldn't have that happen. The scene would be too fucking cute if it did.
あれは一体何だったのでしょうか？
フェイファだな。
フェイファ。
戦で使う火薬を使った武器だ。一回撃つごとに準備が必要になる。
Couldn't just call it a gun.
2発撃たれた。
犯人は複数いたということですか？
ああ、少なくとも2人。他にもいたかもしれない。
一体誰に何を恨まれているんだ？ jinshi様、ここから出る方法はご存知ですか？泳ぐ以外でですが。
奥の天井に穴がある。
それはガオシュン様は知っているのですか？
So, it seems to imply that he's had to have escaped here in the past before as well. Also, wouldn't that imply then that the assailants might also know from past escape attempts?
よほど近くに寄らないと聞こえない。一日中叫び続ければ誰かが気づくかもしれないが。なんだ？
いえ、何も。
Well, the dog set up, of course.
jinshi様を踏み台にしたことが睡蓮様にバレたら。
お前が下になったら潰れるぞ。
しかし。
やれ。
I mean, if commanded to, right? You had no choice.
お前もっと太ったらどうだ？
今言うことじゃないです。ぬるぬるして湿っているが、指を引っ掛ければ立ちます。
よし。
なんだカエルか。
おい。
I was also going to say, even if she gets out, how much I don't think she can do to get Jinshi out of there. So she'd have to leave him behind to go get help, which would be dangerous too.
失礼しました、ジンシ様。
Damn it. Sorry, I heard the music cut out, and I was so in the moment that I was like, is my computer having a problem? And then it occurred to me maybe like half of a second before the credits pulled up. No, they're cliffhangering us. Just the same way that I've got something to tell you, and then the gunshot goes off, is cliffhangering the what is Jinshi going to tell her. Because not for nothing, I have been paying super close attention to who Jinshi is and what his relationship is to people vis-a-vis which child was he when he got switched at birth, right? And the element at play is that he's one, faking his age. He thinks things that are contrary to the evidence that I have about who he is. He gets sad when Adu is leaving in a way that would make me think that he thinks Adu is his mother, which is what I think the evidence is supposed to portray. But then believes himself to be the other person. Again, his age doesn't line up. A bunch of things don't line up to what the evidence would suggest who he is. So I would like to hear his words about who he is. Okay. Well, that's not helpful. Yeah, as I was saying, I would like to hear his words about who he believes himself to be. Because I think the problem I'm having here is that the evidence that I have on who Jinshi is and who he conceives himself to be could be two different things. There's the element that Jinshi himself might be an unreliable narrator when it comes to who he is, but the element of stuff that I brought up in a lot of Lessons and I's duo reactions, which lately has been that perception is reality, that it doesn't matter what the truth is if everyone believes a thing to be true, so long as it isn't like a physical fact. Like a bunch of people not believing gravity to be true doesn't make gravity not exist. But a bunch of people believing that Jinshi is the emperor, say. I'm not saying that's the thing, I'm just using an example. If a bunch of people believe Jinshi to be the emperor, it doesn't matter who the last emperor was or whatever. Their belief in a social construct, say, creates that reality. If everyone believes you to be guilty of a crime, at the end of the day, if you get punished for it, it doesn't matter if you actually did it or not. The public perception then says that you're guilty of that crime. So, if Jinshi believes that he is a thing, that the evidence suggests that he isn't, then that just becomes a truth that we know that no longer matters. So it would be very informative to know what the internal truth of the situation is outside of what might be the internal perception of what reality is versus the external truth of the situation. Again, it doesn't really matter if I'm right or I'm wrong. I'm invested because I've spent so much time building up the evidence for all this, but at the same time, what matters is what's true going forwards, never so much what I believed to be in the first place. That said, we're not really handling a lot of stuff that we're setting up here. Specifically, like, why is Jinshi hiding himself? Why is he going by a false identity? I think we know, based off of what we believe to be true, but it's not being expressed in the show. Also, the element that Shisui invited him, so he knows that he's Jinshi, is the element then that he's calling him Kusen, so that, like, do other people not know who's been invited? And I guess also the element, do they not get told who they're targeting? Because Gao Sheng has been serving Jinshi forever now. Anyone who will recognize him should recognize Jinshi, or anyone who recognizes Ba Sen recognize who his father is, that he's here, thus Jinshi's here. I don't know. It seems to be so convoluted, this, that I have to wonder what the reveal is going to be. I guess just everything hinges on what Jinshi is going to say. And I'm hoping that we're not going to be pulling one of those will they, won't they things forever. In this case, will Jinshi reveal the truth? Or are we going to go for another whole season without things going on said? That's both my worry and my hope. I worry that it's going to happen, and I hope it doesn't. Well, anyway, there's not a whole hell of a lot to go over for this episode, because this felt more like, what is this, why is he not eating the food and all that sort of thing, but I think he's just on heightened alert because his life is actually more at risk. In which case, what? Oh, that's right, he said he couldn't say no. I was like, why did he come here in the first place? He got a hunting invite from somebody he couldn't say no to. So yeah, again, not a lot to discuss here, but again, I might pick up more when I rewatch for the notes and everything. So, I said let's go ahead and hop into the Maomao's notes thing and see. What do we think? I'm thinking it's gonna be about sorry, I forgot what they called it. I'm gonna say guns because I can't remember. It started with the F, Fafe or something like that. Sorry, in my head. This might be because I've been watching a lot of shorts about F1 racing. In my head, I just remember it's an F word that sounds a lot like a race of some sort. And I was almost going to make a joke about it when Jinshi was running with Maomao in his arms. Because, it's a race and he's running, but can't remember. Anyway, I suspect it's going to be about guns. So let's hop on in and see if I'm correct. Soft-shelled turtle. I was completely wrong. Why would you explain guns?
いつシャオマオに打ち明けるのだろうか。今日も馬船が危うく口走るところだった。隠しておくにも限界がある。シャオマオに気づかれてしまったら。
私に何かご用でしょうか。
Also, which secret? Because he's got a bunch.
独り言です。
Like the fact he's not a eunuch.
大変美味しく頂戴しました。あ、そういえばどうしてすっぽん料理が出てきたのでしょう。
I suppose
こ
they're
こで
in the
マオ
region.
マオの豆知識。すっぽんは歩く漢方と言われている。滋養強壮の効果があるとされ、男性の精力剤としても食される。
Oh, invigorating. I got it. That's why his nose was bleeding. I missed that to begin with.
なぜ
明日の狩りに向けて栄養をということではないでしょうか。
他にも不可解な点が。
ドキ。
ズキンに偽名。もしや。
ドキドキ。
なるほど。
バレてしまったか。
へえ、そういうことですか。
はい。
すっぽんは美肌や保湿効果も期待できると聞いたことがあります。
I guess the element of knowing too much can throw you off of the actual trail.
さては帝のお手つきと知らずに師匠様もjin士様を狙って。
I forgot that she thought that.
一刻も早く。
I thought she moved off from that a long time ago.
次回、和井月。jinshi様がついにお見逃しなく。
I mean, if we consider these things to be in-universe, which I have said for a long time now, then Gaoshun doesn't actually know that Jinshi is going to do that. If we consider it to be out-of-universe, then Gaoshun has to be correct because he's coming at this from God's perspective, which is, say, a narrator. And they're promising us that Jinshi will say it. Also, thank God that we watched these because, you know, the episode said some word that I've never heard before, but this is like saying it's moon prints, so translated, thankfully. Moon prints. And obviously, we're giving Jinshi a nickname, but I don't know. I mean, he did the moon dance. I don't know. Either way, I'm surprised they didn't give her guns. It's the first time we've seen a gun in this show. You'd think they'd be concerned about it, but I guess maybe this can be a one-time thing. Got half a season. I don't assume he's going to get shot at for the rest of the show. Hell, I don't know how much longer we're going to be here. How long were we in the outer palace? We barely even covered anything with that place. Still, they have to get rescued. She did the whistle. I assume we're going to pay off the whole the dog can come for a mile, right? I guess it's good to see that Lakan is making progress. Not Lakan, Lihaku. It's good to see that Lihaku is making progress on his whole, I need to get promoted so I can earn more money so that I can buy out... What's her name? Sorry, names are escaping me. You can tell by all the times I've confused one name for another. Doesn't really help that a lot of people have the same kind of, starts with an S. The middle of the name also starts with an S. There's a U and an I. I don't know. You'd think the board would help me, but more than that, I'm just getting names confused. I'm remembering all the names, but then I'm getting them confused with one another. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just down for Jinshi finally revealing everything, and as I said, I'm anticipating it being wrong, only from the perspective that I don't think Jinshi knows everything that's going on. And from that perspective, Jinshi could self-identify incorrectly based on everything he's been told growing up. You know, the fact that he gets switched around as a baby, we, having the narrator's perspective, know that has happened. It's not possible, I think, with the current information, to know if they know that that's happened. So, that being said, I guess catch us next time, where we find out, possibly, if the show is going to cockblock us on this information, or we're finally going to have it happen. And, not for nothing, this would be the perfect time to have some sort of payoff to the Jinshi Maomao relationship as well, now that they're isolated, and then get everything out there. So, that said, once again, I have been Theta, this has been Stoneface Reactions, and we will catch you next time. Bye-bye.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching another Stoneface Reactions. If you have an idea of another video we could go ahead and watch, go ahead and put it in the comments down below and we'll add it to the wheel. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let us know what you thought about this video, what parts you liked. And until then, we'll see you next time. this too goofy?